join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thanks for coming out, everybody. Looks like we have a short agenda tonight. Brian, can you do roll call, please?
Yeah, Mr. Auger,
Present.
Mr. Galley,
Here.
Mr. Zurich,
Here.
and Mr. Epping is absent, and so is Mr. Sharrow.
Okay, review of the agenda. We do have one new business case and a couple housekeeping items on there. Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
Motion and support to approve tonight's agenda as posted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 3-0. Public comment for items that are not on tonight's agenda. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to comment on something that is not on tonight's agenda? And it looks like we have one person online, Brian,
Yeah, but it's not,
not pertaining to it.
I don't think so.
Next item, unfinished business. There is no unfinished business from last meeting. So we'll move into new business. We have one case. What I'll do is just call your case, come up, give us a brief description of what you'd like to do, and then we'll ask you questions from there. So,
Can we also include anybody that speaks or going to speak if they would please sign up?
yeah, sure. Yeah, anybody who comes up to the podium to speak, just make sure you sign in so we get your name and address, and state your name and address if you come up to speak too as well.
He wants to sign in first.
No, that's fine. Case number 24-023, Jason and Naomi Swade.
Yes.
Okay. The petitioner is requesting 3 variances, a variance in order to construct an accessory structure in front of the home, a 30-foot front yard setback variance, and a 4-foot side yard variance. Jason and Naomi, should tell us about what you're going to do.
Oh, over here?
Yep, that's fine.
So we are just looking for, we have a pre-existing shed. It's a Amish-built shed that we're looking to put on our property. Can you hear me
Can I get you
okay?
to state your name and address,
Oh,
please?
sorry. Naomi Swade,
Jason Swade.
and it's 9130 Seneca. We're just looking to put this shed on our property because we have limited space. Our garage is full with 2 motorcycles and a mower, and we don't want to have to put that out in our yard. We're looking for this to be able to house that. Our yard is on a very steep slope, as you can see from the pictures that I provided. We have no place to put it on the side. We'd end up having to excavate the whole hill out, put in a retainer wall. In the backyard, we only have 10 feet from our deck to the neighbor's yard. There's no place to put a shed in the backyard. And on the side yard where there is room, it's actually our septic field, and we cannot put a shed on that side of our property.
I don't know if you're looking at that, if you look up.
Yeah, that's, so our whole septic field is right there.
Part of our property actually is her driveway.
Yeah.
They actually put her driveway, the middle of her driveway is actually the back of our yard. So we have no, I can actually show you right here. When we talked to the people that actually were the builders that built the did the driveway, and they already knew about it, they said, yeah, the guy did it, but half her driveway is actually on our property.
Mhm.
So we have no room, and this is our septic field, our drain field, and this is all hill up here, and the flattest part is where we picked it in front of it.
And we moved it over as far as we possibly could to have it work. We've talked to our neighbors that are on that side that the shed is going to be. They have no problem with us putting it there. We talked to the neighbors that are directly across from us. They have no problems with us putting it there. And the neighbor that's directly behind us, and they have no problems with us putting it there.
Okay. Anybody want to start? Alan or Ken?
Well, I could start. I'm very familiar with Thindara Park, Sandy Beach, and that whole area, because I've built a number of houses up there over the years. It is a very The topographic is quite radical throughout that whole area up there, but that makes it what it is up there. Out and reviewed the site. I myself, for as small as the shed is, I don't particularly have a problem with this case. They have a true hardship and a practical difficulty with the topography of the subdivision and the problems they have with the lot that they didn't, like the septic and that, they didn't cause it.
Ken, anything additional or any
You
questions?
mentioned, I believe you said an existing shed. There's a shed somewhere, and you're just gonna move it?
No,
We're
we,
taking that down.
the shed that you see, the cedar shed that you see with the metal roof is one that we had purchased, and we attempted to put it in not knowing that we weren't allowed to have it without coming here first. And we had somebody come from the neighborhood that was very irate with us and swearing at us and told us that we needed to get rid of it immediately. So we sent it back with the people that we purchased it from. We do have an existing shed, which is just a little plastic Rubbermaid shed
Right.
on the other side of the house where the septic field is, but it's so lightweight. All we have in there is like yard things. We can take that down if we need to.
So,
That shed is a 7x7.
Yeah,
That's on
it's
the-
very small and
yeah, I understand. So what is the shed that that you want to install? Like
this one
the
right
picture I
here.
see?
That
Okay.
is it. That's the
Okay,
one.
and that's the one that was there?
Yes, we had it. We were trying to
We were
install
trying to
it
install it
and
that
we were
day.
told to get rid of it.
Okay.
We picked out a stain and everything to stain it. and
So
we
it will
also
match the house.
And then we had intentions to put arborvitae's behind it, which, if you look at the property line we were talking about.
Along the neighbor's property?
Yes.
We were gonna go here by the road and this way to block it, to shield it, so when people are driving, you can't see it, but like I said, I'm gonna keep it where it looks decent and try to, where nobody didn't have to really look at it. And that was my intentions, and I talked to my neighbors about it, and they said they were fine with it,
Okay.
did that or not.
So you said you intend on planting screen bushes on the
Yes.
property lines?
If they-
Yes.
Like I said, if they wanted us to do that, I had all intentions to put arborvitae's or something, talk to them. Before we ever did any kind of landscaping on there, I talked to my neighbor.
To the right?
Yes.
Yeah, because we did this whole area, we actually, this whole area was nothing but a big mess here, and then down here, we totally tore all this up, and I talked to both of these neighbors before we ever did anything, told them what I wanted to do, and we all came to it, like I said, they were fine, everything that we did, so before I ever did any kind of yard work, even on my side, I always talked to them first, and everything was okay with it, and like I said, before I did anything, I always talked to them first.
Okay.
Anything additional, Ken?
No, I'd like to hear any public comment.
Okay. All right, we're good for now.
Thank
We'll bring
you.
you back up. Anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this case?
Yes. My name is Rick Pokrevsky. I live at 9151 Seneca, almost kind of kitty corner across from them. That shed was never there. The first time we seen it is when the company came in and dropped it off. When they dropped it off, we said, that's not right. And the location did not seem right. It's in direct view of my picture window out in front. So we checked, called around, make sure that, if it was approved or not, and apparently it wasn't. So then at that point, it was removed. They never did come talk to me and ask my opinion. So that, if he would have asked, I would have told him no.
I don't know why it's not like, I've like raised my hand to say, am I supposed to have audio at home? Like,
Go ahead, continue, sorry about that.
Oh, okay. So I've got pictures out my front window on where they would like to place it. I can show you my view. And I don't want this to set precedent on people putting, whatever they want out in their front yards or sheds or whatever, understand, So I just don't want to be looking at that, and I just think it just doesn't do good for the neighborhood. If you'd like to see pictures of my view, I can bring those up.
You can hand them down to Alan at the end here, and he can pass them down. That's fine.
the view, if you look over here is where they're proposing to put the shed, it's where that little camper is.
Okay. The camper's on their property?
Yes, yeah,
Can we keep these?
yes.
All right, thank
We'll
you.
make them part of the record.
Anything additional?
I think that covers it.
All right, anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak? Go ahead and come on up.
I am Jeffrey Jeffrey. I live at 9050 Cherokee, Clarkston, Michigan. I can't see this house from my property, but I drive by it and I have friends and neighbors who live there. I think this is a really bad precedent if you allow people to just put a shed in their front yard. You know it's going to look crappy. And I understand that these people have more possessions than they can store on their property, but there are off-site options for storage. So I urge you to reject this variance.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Hello, my name's Jeff Codling. I live at 5084 Iroquois, also in the Thundera Park neighborhood. I'm part of the homeowners association. I also have friends and other neighbors that live in that area that have concerns with it. And like Jeff, I feel it's going to set a precedent where we're going to see more and more of this throughout the neighborhood. And with just the way a lot of the lots are, a lot of them are corner lots, and because of the topography, I think you're going to see a lot more of this, a lot more requests to do this. And I think it's just going to bring the aesthetic look of the neighborhood down. I understand their issue and I sympathize with it, but in the grand scheme of it all, I just don't see it benefiting the neighborhood, which we all enjoy. We moved there for the look of it, for the way it is. And like I said, I'm just afraid it's going to set a precedent that will just snowball. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in the audience? Online, we have one person online. Did you wish to comment on this case? Okay, well, I guess if they chime in, we'll let them speak after the fact. So, I appreciate the neighbors coming in, and I appreciate the petitioner. I had a question for you guys. If one of you wants to come back up to the podium real quick.
Both do.
In your packet that you included, I tried to count, but I lost count. There's 15,
Yes.
I
20.
stopped at 20. There
Mhm.
was actually more sheds on people's property, and I only went 3 blocks from our house. I only deviated from there, and I stopped.
Yeah.
And people had carports. To me, I mean, they had those right in their driveways, and they got
Yeah.
those in your yards.
And granted, some of these may have been built 50 years ago and nobody batted an eye, and they may be grandfathered in or whatnot, and actually the townships, if anybody comes in and tries to pull a new permit, we're not grandfathering stuff in anymore. They actually will make them go through the process like you to clean up our books and make those structures legit. So, I commend you for trying to do the right thing and do it up front. This is obviously an area of hundreds of variances. I think since I've been on the ZBA in 10 years, we've probably had an average of a few cases a year in this subdivision for setback lines, driveways being on other people's property, houses actually being right on the property line.
Right.
So it is definitely not unique to the area, is my point. So, did anybody up here have any follow-up after hearing comment, or?
The one comment they made about putting arborvitae's to the back, how far off the back property property line where you're proposing to put the shed. So is that the 6 foot that's
Yes.
in,
And I talked to Rick, which is butting up his property. He actually told me to put the arborvitae's on his property, a couple feet if I wanted to. Cause I asked him before we put our pop-up there. I talked to him before we even parked it on our property and asked him, I said, cause I knew his wife really didn't wanna look at it, cause they talked about the previous, owners of the house. So I asked him, I said, if you're willing, if y'all want, I'll be more than happy to put arborvitae's up. And he just said, if you wanna just go a foot on his property.
Which we don't need to do that. With where
No.
the shed would be, we'd have plenty of room to put the
We do, and
arborvitae's
he's-
behind the shed and still be on our property. And he has no problem with that.
Okay.
do you have any problem putting more arborvitae's and putting them, which would be,
Cause there's a big Christmas tree right there, right next to it. I know it's hard to see in
It's
the,
not, I don't think it's not a
Is-
Christmas tree.
yeah, it's a pine tree, Christmas tree.
Oh, yes, on the other side
Right
it
next
is,
to
yeah,
where we're putting
yeah.
the shed and everything. It's on half our property and half of Randy's property. Rick, I'm sorry. You can see it actually right
Yeah.
there. It's like a big-
On the other side of the shed,
Yeah,
which
I
is
can
why
see
we
it.
can't bring the shed over.
We have the same overhead on our screens.
Yeah,
putting more arborvitae's to the left of it to kind of screen
the street side,
shed. As you're looking at that picture that's there,
yes.
to the left side, which side was the door gonna be on?
The door's gonna be facing our driveway, so we
Now,
were planning on putting.
Is that Seneca Street or this
It's-
other street?
Yes, no, the door will be facing our driveway that you come in off of Seneca, but not facing Seneca. So they will not see the door. If I can
So they could screen.
maybe
too.
show
Yeah.
you easier this way, so. Okay, so this is Seneca here.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm shaking really bad.
That's
worry
okay,
about it. You're
calm
fine.
calm down, we don't hang anybody here.
Our driveway comes up here, and this is our garage, so we're putting our shed here, and the
Yep.
door will be right here. So
Okay.
that we can drive into it with the mower and stuff from our driveway. And our plan is to put arborvitae's along the roadside and arborvitae's back here.
Okay.
Now,
So it
the-
would block anybody's view of the shed.
now the neighbor that got up and spoke, that lives
Kitty
across.
corner.
No, he's up over here, across from this house. This is his
Oh,
house over
okay,
here.
okay.
So he doesn't even face our
So
house.
you've got screening there,
Yes,
and you could put screening along Seneca
Yes.
Street, which will leave the doorway open to the driveway.
correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for now.
Did you have anything extra, Mr. Zerk?
No, Brian, just internal question, I guess, Brian. In the past, people have asked for variances, and I think for sheds. Is there something that you recall recently, or?
We haven't had too many on sheds. In Fundera and Sunny Beach, we've had new houses. Those have been the majority of the variances, or garages, detached garages. Not too many on sheds. We've had a lot of permits up there for sheds in the last 5-6 years, but they've all obviously complied.
As you can see from that overview, Ken, this, their building property consists of 4 buildable lots that have been combined to make one lot. This is typical of Sunny Beach. Thindera Park has 10 and 15-foot lots that have been assembled up there to make buildable sites. Most of this was recreational property back when it was originally developed, platted.
I guess a question for Brian. So obviously this is all areas of non-conforming lots. We know that. And any other comments to the township that aren't represented tonight, or any returned things to you?
No, I did speak with a couple neighbors. They were just wondering how this was gonna affect them. And I just filled them in on what they were requesting and where it was gonna be. And they didn't seem to have too much trouble with it, or concern. But they just wanted to know where it was gonna be.
Okay.
on the lot.
Thank you.
In reviewing this, Ken, out to the site, did you see any other location that you thought it could
Oh,
be moved to?
it's definitely a challenge. It's quite relatively speaking, a steep incline. And I can see where they want to drive their mower off the driveway into the door of the unit. I'm a little bit concerned, given the opposition right now that are being presented to us, and I don't see an easy solution for a location that would keep everybody happy.
Excuse me, because I originally wanted to do it by this side of the house, by the garage. You can pull that back up, but you only had,
Try to stay at the podium.
so what would this be here? This is, if you, I can show, I don't know what the declare is. On the side of
Yes, that's
Right where the shed
right where
is, if
the
you go back
cursor is right now.
20 feet, I don't even think it's 20 feet, maybe 20 feet. Right next to that right there is our garage. I was originally wanted to try to put there by the house and between the house and the neighbors, have it set back, but the actual ground itself, it will start off probably about a foot, and it goes all the way up to about 5 feet to 6 feet as you go back. It just, it inclines so much, you'd have to build a retaining wall and everything. You'd actually have to dig down probably 3-4 feet.
More than that, the top of the
I mean, that's still.
neighbor's yard is the same level as our roof, if
Yeah.
that gives you an idea of the slope.
I mean, so, we ran out, we don't have any really options where to put it.
Anything else from the board? Somebody want to try a motion, suggestion?
It is a difficult situation because they're on a corner lot. And we have to look at each one of these cases individually for hardship or practical difficulty. And I can see both in this instance on this property. It's better to have things inside a structure than it is sitting out in the open and viewed. What are you gonna keep the camper on your lot, or are you gonna put it
It would be
somewhere?
moved into our driveway. Which our neighbor told us he had no problem with us having our pop-up in our driveway. Or in that spot for that matter. He just didn't want the shed there.
Well, I'll try to make a motion in case number 24-023 to approve the petitioner's request for 3 total variances. Added that arborvitae screening be put between the neighbor. Is that to the east, the 6 foot?
Yeah, it is.
towards the east, between the shed and the property line, and also arborvitae screening along Seneca, minimum of 3 plants each side. Noting that they have a hardship with the topography on the lot and the practical difficulty that is associated with the topography.
I'd like to maybe alter that a little bit. I'm looking at the current view that everybody's looking at right now. It looks like there's a 40-foot mark along the roadway there. You were mentioning 3 arborvitae. Can we move that up to 6 or 8?
I don't know that 6 will fit along the side. Depending on how big we get them. 4 probably would fit, because if we put them too close, then they're gonna grow into each other. But on the home that we lived in before we moved into Seneca, we did arborvitaes. We got 4-foot arborvitaes, and we planted them all along our property line. And I think there we planted them, was it 4 feet apart? Which obviously,
Whatever.
it's an entire property line, totally different situation here. But you do have to have them planted so far apart, or they're gonna grow into each other and they'll die.
Mr. Ottman?
Typical standard is 2 feet on center.
Okay,
For
And you can stagger
arborvitae,
'em. For arborvitae, yeah.
for a shield.
Mhm. And you can stagger them.
And I'm sorry, the size of the shed is
10 feet on that side, I believe.
10 foot. So I guess my request would be 6 arborvitae along the roadside.
That's fine, we can do that. If we can fit it, we can do it.
Well, it would be a requirement,
Okay,
and it would be with the purpose of trying to shield it from people driving along the road or neighbors.
Okay.
6 feet with 2 in between would be 12 feet.
Yes, and then the stain or paint would have to match the, I know you said it,
Yep.
but I'd like to add the stain or paint on the shed has to match the home.
We're fine with that.
You accept
I'll accept
Ken's
those
request for amendment?
amendments.
Mr. Ottman?
Just a point of clarification on the plants, typically they're 4 feet is the minimum size
In height,
in ordinance, yeah.
In height?
When you, in height,
So the motion would be 6 on the roadside, 2 foot on center, minimum 4-foot height, correct?
You talking about buying them for?
yes.
Yeah,
And then 3 on the
You can,
east side.
they're readily
No, that's what
available.
I'm asking,
Yeah.
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have the motion, correct? We're placing a motion, sir. Hang on one second.
Thank you.
Trying to get it correct. Are we comfortable with what the motion is?
Yes, I accept the amendments for the paint and the added arborvitae.
Okay, roll call, please, Mr. Ottman?
You wanna go back
Yes.
to
Mr. Auger,
Yes,
Mr. Galley,
Yes.
Mr. Zurich.
yes.
Okay. The motion carries, so get with the building department to pull the necessary permits, and good luck with your project.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I thought I was gonna be allowed to speak.
come back up to the podium, please.
You were allowed to speak.
I know. Please state your name again, please.
Sure.
Just for the record.
Sure. So Jeff Codling, I'm at 5084 Iroquois Boulevard. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not a plant guy, tree guy, so I'm trying to envision this. And my only concern that I'm thinking is, and I didn't have a good view of the overheads, but I'm thinking if you plant these trees, I don't know how far off the road the shed is gonna be, but then between the curb and the shed, you're gonna have all these plants. What happens as they get older and mature? Are we gonna have an issue where they're growing out into the
These will be
street or
on their
blocking?
property.
I'm sorry?
They'll be planted on their property.
But I'm saying, as they grow and mature though, will they grow out so close to the road where you may have issues with obscuring things or plows going by or? That is an issue in the neighborhood where we have a lot of blind corners and stuff where people have planted trees in the past and they overgrow and, you know, you pull up, you can't see around. And I'm kind of familiar with the area, so I know it's more of a straight shot where they're talking about. But my concern is that over time, if it's not maintained or they move, somebody else moves in, are these things just gonna grow out over the road and become a nuisance?
There's 10 feet, there's probably 16 feet from the shed to the road.
Is there? Okay.
An arborvitae full grown at the base, if they get massive,
8.
it's
Yeah, 6
not
to
that
8.
big of a
Okay.
circumference, you know?
And
so-
I'm not that familiar with it, I didn't have a good view of the thing, but that was a concern I had.
And they'll
while
be
you were-
back away from the corner plenty for
Okay,
sight distance.
It's more on the straightaway.
Yeah, because it's almost 90 feet from this other side street to the one lot that's almost at the end of their garage, and then you got the other 40-foot lot.
okay,
So it's quite a ways from the corner for a blind corner.
okay. I just wanted to make sure you took that into consideration, because
You're right.
it kind of crossed my
Yep.
mind. All right, thank you.
That's the advantage of these overviews.
Thank you. All right, next item under new business, 2025 schedule.
The only, there's 2 meetings that'll be on the second Wednesday, just because of January 1st and July 4th.
Where's Labor Day fall into it?
September is the normal first Wednesday. Labor Day's I think it's the 1st.
Okay.
But those are the only changes to the typical schedule we have.
They look good. Do we need to approve them?
I'll make a
Or-
motion to approve the schedule as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and support for the 2025 meeting schedule. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 3-0. Approval of minutes. Alan, did you want to comment at all on the October that was kind of
Yeah, I'll
relating
make,
to some changes you wanted to request, I believe?
yes, I'll make a motion in the October 2nd, 2024 minutes. Before I make the motion on the minutes, I would like to say that I made the motion on November 6th not to approve the minutes as presented. The reason was I felt that there wasn't enough detail on case number 24-020. The discussion in detail wasn't included. And
Did it get added? I didn't look.
pardon me?
Did it get
Yeah.
added? I didn't look.
I'm sorry.
Did that information get added?
It did, it's not in great detail. So in the motion, I'm going to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of October 2nd, 2024 as a general overview of the meeting, and that the video of the meeting of October 2nd be included in this motion. I made a motion to approve the October 2nd.
I have no issue with Alan's motion and concerns. I'll support the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of November 6th, 2024 as presented.
I'll support that one as well. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No one? Motion carries 3-0. Discussion.
The reason why I had such a problem with the minutes of that meeting, one of the presenters in the meeting, I felt didn't have a hardship or a practical difficulty in regards to the sign that was before us. As you know, we're a judicial board, and I feel like we're in a courtroom here where we're the jury. The petitioners are presenting their case, and we have to decide on what the case is. And even if you've ever been a foreman on a jury, you can ask the court questions, and that's what we do here. But I think in some of these cases, if they don't show a hardship or practical difficulty, it's going to get harder and harder for us to approve things that come before us. But if none of you have, if you go on, I have Google on our computer, and if you Google State of Michigan Zoning Board of Appeals rules, you'll see that Michigan Municipal League has a whole handbook on what to do. And in the back of it, in one section, they mention in detail, make sure that your cases are in writing in detail. And I listened to the meeting on YouTube and had the minutes that were presented in front of me, and I didn't feel it was inclusive enough in the discussion part. But that's my own personal opinion, and that's,
Well,
doesn't affect any of you guys. I just,
Minutes are always a snapshot of it. I've presented in front of different communities and worked in a couple different communities, and I mean, I think they capture the spirit and what's said in the meeting, but by no means is it word for word.
Right.
And I don't think it's supposed to be. I mean, you mentioned hardship. I've been in communities where it's no, like the case we just had tonight. Okay, yeah, it's a corner lot, it's topography, but you don't have to build a shed. That's a self-created issue, building a shed. So the answer is no. So how far do you want to take the spirit of the zoning act with that as well, you know? Because then every case should be no, because you don't have to build a house. By you building the house, you're creating the zoning violation. So, you know, I don't know. Yes, it's a fine line to walk, I guess.
well, even on this case, if you look at the house and the setbacks, you probably couldn't even build it there without coming before us, could they today? I mean, it's an existing
It's-
lot of record,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they'd have to come before us to make it legal.
There is a very small window where they could have built it, but they'd have to build it into a hill,
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I've presented in our friendly neighbors to the north township, and the guy wanted to build a garage, you know, on a lot similar to this. Well, no, you don't have to build a garage. Answer's no, it's self-created. Well, I want to put stuff in the garage. Well, sorry, you can't have a garage. So
my thought is it's always better to have it in a structure than it is sitting in the yard.
I would approve it, yes, I agree. So,
That's my point.
I
That's
get
all.
you, I get you. Any other discussion? Anything good from the township?
Nothing to report.
Hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 6:39.
I'll support that.
Aye.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Well, Brian, I have a feeling this is your last meeting.